some I can't something ranks. It was some Facebook watch video where they do a lot of gaming stuff, and they were ranking like the top 30 toxic communities, right? Toxic games or toxic communities. And it was interesting because I disagreed with much of what the guy was saying, but I think it does personify mainstream or like games journalists, how they approach games. And I think it also personifies like the generation that we're dealing with now. Obviously, this is not the generation of people, and I got all kinds of crap in my face. I'm looking at my stream now. Obviously, this is not the generation of people that grew up in COD lobbies. And COD, of course, was high on the list of toxic communities, right? Where they were basing the toxicity. That's what they said. There was this whole toxic. And what they considered toxic, though, I disagreed with, right? I disagreed with that. I thought that was a part of gaming. Again, I grew up in arcades talking noise with the guy right next to me playing Street Fighter, Tekken, Mortal Kombat, and we sitting here talking noise to each other as we're playing the game, right? Or linking up with my bros playing Halo, right? And I didn't own an Xbox, but I played Halo, or you know, competitively against other people, LAN tournaments, all that sort of stuff. Like where trash talk was part of the experience. It was part of the experience, right? And yeah, you may have gotten called out your name. Someone probably talked about your mama, but that was a part of the experience, right? That was just, and for those of you that grew up playing sports, that was also part of that. Like it was like a sport in itself. That was sort of what it was. And the guys just basing though the toxicity based on one of the Souls games was on there. We're on there as well, talking about toxic. It was like, well, a lot of gripes that some people have about the game, the community will just say, get good. That's where a lot of that obviously stemmed from. And the person that was doing the video was obviously pinning toxicity on that. And I'm like, is that really toxic though? Like, is that really toxic? Where you suck at the game and someone tells you trash? Ain't nothing like coming out of Nuketown, going 1 and 12, 4 and 12, right? Playing like an absolute bum, and then having to account and answer for your crimes in the lobby as your own teammates were calling you an absolute bum. They were calling you trash. Like that was what it was about for me, right? Like I love that. I love that stuff. Now, simultaneously, ironically, I'm wearing one of my track and field shirts from college. You know, I've been an athlete my entire life, so competing wasn't nothing to me. But is that really toxic? And where is the line? I love your thoughts in the comments. Where's the line drawn when it does become toxic? Because I can agree that there's an area that, you know, you're probably being annoying at that point, and like it's a little too much. You're going in a different direction with it, right? But again, the guys that were doing this list, their toxicity was built into like the competitiveness. That's what they were considering what was toxic, right? The community telling you to get good. FIFA was one of the more toxic community, talking about the celebrations and stuff like that. Like, I get it, right? But is toxic actually the term that we should be using for that? I don't know. Like me personally, I don't think so. I think that's just part of that's part of gaming. Trash talk, getting told you suck, getting told you're a bum. To me, that's part of the game. I don't think that's toxic, but it does speak to what we have been speaking on previous segments, and how that's the generation that's kind of the influx of people who didn't experience that, and then they get confused as to, well, wait a minute, why is this guy calling me trash? Don't I deserve a participation trophy? Fall Guys of all games is on there as well. I remember watching that video of this one little dude crying about people actually being good at Fall Guys. People actually being good at Fall Guys. And he was like, nobody wants to play this and have to sit up here and sweat. Some people just want to come home and play a game and wind down. And I have all of these people that are just zooming through this. And I'm like sitting here like, wow. You're actually crying about people being better at the game than you are. That is amazing. And that was some of what he was talking about. He's like how obviously on Fall Guys you can kind of like grab people and stuff like that, or how people would sit there and turn around at the finish line and stuff like that. And he was like, toxic, toxic, toxic. This is toxic. I'm sitting here like, is it really though? I don't think that's toxic. I think that's just part of gaming. You know what I'm saying? It's like people get good at them. Some are better than you. You can't win them all. And that's when you think you're really good at a game. There's always someone better than you. It's just like sports. It's like track and field, right? I'll blow the doors off of people, right? Competition gets a little more higher, right? I go to college. I will never forget Eastern Kentucky. Never forget, right? Or was it Eastern Illinois? Eastern Illinois is actually what it was. Eastern Illinois. And I remember my first indoor track meet, right? And I'm in the South. I'm from Texas. We don't run indoor track. So this is my first time ever running indoor track. And obviously we didn't have at University of Memphis, we didn't have a training facility for the indoor track, right? Which generally they're between 200. Sometimes you get like the longer or the wider tracks, like the banked tracks or something like that. Like Texas A&M has a banked track. I don't know if they still have one, but back when I was coming up, they had a banked track. You had like Kentucky. They had like a 300-meter indoor track, stuff like that. Same with Texas Tech, right? So the curves are a little wider. But I had never ran in a 200 standard non-banked track, right? And I got the absolute doors blown off of me in my first track meet, right? Coming off of competing in Texas, thinking, well, I was, state 5A, state qualifier 100-meter dash. I'm going to have absolutely no problem. And it was the biggest wake-up call that I'd ever got, because there's always someone that's better than you. But that's competition, right? I don't go gripe to the track like, hey, y'all need to change this or change the rules. No, that's just what it is. And I think streaming, I'm going to end on this note. When it comes for gaming, comes to gaming, I think streaming has introduced even more so a crowd of casuals that play games mindlessly. And to them, toxic is being bad at the game and being told you're bad at the game, or it's just absolute being trash at the game, right? Because when you're streaming, the whole lure is you're interacting with chat and stuff like that. You're putting on this show. That's hard to do for games if you are trash, obviously. And if those are games that are competitive, like the FIFAs of the world, right? Where you have to actually pay attention to the game if you're playing it. Right? It's difficult to do all of that stuff. So obviously those communities don't like those types of games, because Fall Guys, hey, it's a giggly game. Hey, I get to play with my friends. And then after about a week or so, people actually got good at the damn game. They started to master the courses, the concepts, the mini games. And then they said, well, Fall Guys community is toxic. Unbelievable. They grew up in a different generation, and they don't seem to understand that that's just part of gaming. You being told to get good is part of gaming. These guys would not have survived one match of warfare, modern warfare, or Black Ops 2. They wouldn't have ever survived it, because those were the most cutthroat, lobbies that I probably ever played on, right? Or playing SOCOM. SOCOM was the first shooter game, really, that I was playing like crazy competitively. And being told by my teammates that I suck, right? That turns boys into men, makes your skin tough. But hey, this is where we're at. Where toxic for gamers, right, is being told you suck, being told you're bad at something. Toxic, that word is used so just randomly. Like, it's just like you said something that I dislike, or that I don't, or you're making me have to deal with something that I don't want to deal with. Therefore, you're toxic. These guys are weird, man.